Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi. I'm Mayor Manny Cid, and we have a great guest today. We have the CEO of the Graham Companies here in the town of Miami Lakes, Stuart Wyllie. How you doing, Stu?
I'm great, Manny. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. I want to thank some of our sponsors. We're powered by Miami Lakes AutoMall. Shout out to Fred Senra. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue, Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3510. Stu, what do you think about this mural?
Pretty impressive, man. Who did this?
Grisel Gajano, a local artist. She donated this. I mean, we worked with her, and she helped us out with the pricing, and it was truly, truly amazing. But, yeah, if folks are interested, you can reach her send her a text message at 786-353-8608. And our food sponsor today for a great staff is Vicky Bakery of Miami Lakes. They're located at 13925 Northwest 67th Avenue. Those are actual tenants of yours.
They're supportive.
They're great folks. Their phone number is 305-827-2223. Shout out to the KO family. These folks are great human beings. They're always giving back. And our incredible film production crew, the Matter Lakes Academy Bears. This is a live classroom, which makes it really special. A lot of these podcasts are just folks talking, having a good time, but there's an actual educational purpose behind it. You have an actual classroom that's been created specifically for this podcast. So, Stu, to break the ice, and I think I want to get into your why, right? Mm-hmm. When we're little kids, when you ask a little kid in elementary school, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Kids talk about, I want to be a police officer, a doctor, a nurse, an astronaut. We have all these big dreams. But what's your why where you ended up as the CEO of an incredibly dynamic organization, right? A lot of folks don't know the Graham Companies, it's not just a real estate corporation.
Right.
You got a pecan farm. Mm-hmm. You got a dairy farm.
Correct.
I believe meat processing.
Commercial cattle. We grow pine trees.
Sugar
cane. We do sugar cane.
I didn't even know any. So think about it. How do you go from, when we're kids, going from those dreams, heading into being the CEO of, what's your why? Why do it? Why?
Well, it's like everything in life. It was a path. You're influenced by the people you look up to. My dad was in the real estate business, so I always was interested in it. I went to the University of Florida, graduated long before any of you guys were born, 1976.
Gators.
And was able to go to work for the largest developer in Florida. It was a company called General Development. They were developing 220,000 acres of land in 9 locations. I mean, to put that into perspective, Miami Lakes is 3,000 acres, so it was 220,000 acres. It was a tremendous company. And I worked there for 15 years until my father-in-law, Bill Graham, who was really the founder of Miami Lakes, and his son, we called him B, who was unfortunately passed away, approached me and asked if I would be interested in coming to the Graham Companies. They were looking for somebody that had my skill set, and I thought it was a terrible idea. The last place I'd go to work was with my wife's family's company. But I did it and loved it. They were very welcoming and supportive, and it's been a real honor to have the opportunity to be involved, as you say, not just in the real estate, but in all the agricultural businesses as well. It's really fascinating to learn about growing pecans and sugarcane and cattle and dairy and all those other things that we do. But we're most proud of Miami Lakes, and we're really proud of what's happening here in our town center. You walk outside this building and you look at this project we call 6600 that a lot of people were opposed to. You were there, and you heard the complaints. And fortunately, you were one of the ones that had the vision and supported it. And I think it's proven to be just what we said it would be. And we're 100% leased. We've got Miami Dolphins living there. It's worked out great. And now we're focusing on the balance of Main Street, and we've got a lot of exciting things coming. So.
Yeah, what's interesting is you're starting to see this revival in the town. When I first got elected, the discussion was always about the past. Oh, Don Shula lived here. All the great Dolphins lived here. Right. They lived here, right? And those are grateful. Howard Schellenberg, Schellenberger, rest in peace, great human beings. But they lived here at one point. Right. But we got to start looking at the future. And I think today you have 2 NBA players that just moved in. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, you have Dolphin players. So you're starting to see that revival. Right. But I think it's part of your legacy as a CEO of the Graham Companies. I personally believe there's 3 in the town. There's 3 major things. If you could touch upon each of them individually. Town Center.
Correct.
The Senior Village.
Right.
And I believe hopefully soon, the golf course. And,
Right.
and so if you just town center, I remember that discussion like it was yesterday, you know, how, yeah, people are against it. Look, the reality is anytime you have drastic or any type of change,
Right.
you're going to have pushback, but you got to have that will. I remember I voted for it. I had folks telling me, hey, you'll never win, you know, an election ever again here in Miami Lakes. I ended up winning unopposed. And then today we're seeing all these businesses coming in. It's
Right.
coming back to life. The movie theater, when you touch upon town center,
will.
touch upon that movie.
I will.
The movie theater is getting redeveloped. I mean,
been a lot of
but
money.
those three things too, if you could touch upon them, the town center, senior village, golf course, because I think
Right.
those are legacy projects for you.
Well, let's start with the town center. And again, I thank you for your vision and courage. And it did take some courage. It got hot, you know, and there are a lot of people that were, I think they would all agree now that they were misguided at the time, but whatever. But in order to make Miami Lakes, the town center was always intended to be the center of activity. You know, this is where you would come at night. And in order to activate that, to really make it work, to get the restaurants, to draw the kind of a theater that we're going to have, you have to have people here. You have to energize the street. And that's what this most recent apartment community has done. Now we're getting focused on the older 2 blocks of Main Street. If you go out there today, we've got a whole, in fact, I even brought a list of them. There are so many restaurants that we've been working on. We've got Cella's Beer Garden, which is open and doing well. We have the Francisca's Charcoal Chicken and Meats. They're open. And
That's
doing well.
amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it's great.
It's really good
It's great.
food.
La Straga Italian Steakhouse right across the street. Kai Express, the Garrison Tap Room. Salsa Fiesta is undergoing a complete renovation. It's going to be more of a lounge with a fusion menu of food from around the world. They can call it Corner 67, I think. But the biggest news is really the theater. And, we had a theater, but it was worn out.
Yep.
And we are fortunate to have CMX, which is owned by a very, very wealthy Mexican family. And unlike a lot of the theater operators, they have survived the pandemic and are in the process of spending many, many millions of dollars to completely renovate the theater, turn it into a high-end theater with the luxury seats. These seats cost like $1,500 a piece. I mean, they're amazing, you know.
Those are the recliners.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. So with the fancy seats and food and beverage, it's going to be an amazing experience. And that, along with these other projects, this re-tenanting, is going to completely change the sense. And we're not stopping there. We're working on phase 2. I know we're talking about coming in and doing some architectural things to improve the look and the paint. We're trying to figure out what to do with believe it or not, we all love the oak trees in the center, but a lot of them have torn up the pavement. We're trying to figure out how to make all that work. But so stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. You know, we remain committed to making this the best town center anywhere. We still have people come here from all over the world. I've had tour people from Australia and Japan that have read about Main Street and Miami Lakes and come to see what works and what doesn't work. And so it's a process.
No,
So
you hit it on the head, and it is working. The amount of people moving to our community, the energy coming in.
Right.
I mean, I think right now there's only, out of all the thousands of homes that exist in Miami Lakes, I think you guys are at 100% when
Correct.
it comes to your apartments. There's only 30 plus homes for sale in the town right now.
And we don't have apartments. I had a guy call me today, say, hey, I desperately need an apartment for a friend of mine. I checked. We don't have any apartments. I mean, we've never been in that situation. And why? And I think it's because of this. It's this commitment. And frankly, it's working with the town. You guys have been great, and you've been part of the solution. But this is a process that'll never end. You know, when they started Miami Lakes in 1962, they said they would complete the development in 10 years. Okay? So here we sit, almost 60 years later, and we're not finished. And when we get, quote unquote, finished, you go back and you redevelop the things that need to be improved. I mean, we've got a long list of things that we're going to come back and in some cases just knock them over. I mean, that kind of takes me to the golf course. So a lot going on there, both on the golf side as well as the real estate side. We've engaged engineers. You know, one of the problems we've had with our golf course is if it rains, the back nine floods. And that's just a function of the geology back there. We've hired an engineering firm who has prepared a design that I think will solve that problem so that we can stand more than 1 or 2 inches of rain and be able to stay open. So that golf side is moving forward. But then we have, what do we do with the rest of the site? So we had the old Indigo buildings. There was actually three buildings. Those buildings were built in 1962. They're done. You know, we've got mold issues with them. They never function very well. So we've closed that facility, and we're now working with an architect. In fact, we've had a preliminary meeting with Susanna, the town planner, to discuss how do we make that site better and what do we do. And I think what we're going to wind up doing is just knocking down all the buildings and starting over again. We're looking at doing something really exciting on the driving range that would have, I wouldn't go so far as Topgolf, but that kind of a thing where you could go at night and hit balls with friends and have a drink and a little something to eat.
That's amazing.
Have teaching bays, make that really, really first class. And then have the opportunity to redo the whole golf component, you know, new locker rooms, new bag storage. And then try to create a facility, a banquet facility that would be top notch. You know, we have banquet facilities in town today, but nothing like what we're envisioning here. Something that would have views out over the golf course, a big veranda. I mean, the real deal. Really spectacular. So, and then there would be a residential component in it. We're looking at putting some apartments that would attach to it, that would view onto the golf course. You know, we need that to make the rest of it work, because the other stuff doesn't, you know, has a hard time carrying itself. But that's in the planning stages, but we're excited about it, and I think it'll really transform that and make it just, you know, so much better than it is today, you know, for sure.
Listen, that driving range alone, you're seeing those concepts pop up all over the U.S.
You know what's interesting? When Topgolf came to Dade County, I got a call, and they said, listen, we have looked all over Dade County, and our number one location, the number one place we want to be is on your driving range. Okay? I said, come on down, let's do it. So they came out. The problem we had were the power lines.
Oh.
It wasn't wide enough to build the building. You can park under the power lines, but you couldn't build under the power lines. So it killed the deal. They were as upset about it as we were. But this is the next best thing, and I think it'll really energize that place. So.
No, I think that golf course, you know, and it needs it. You hit it on the head. That is an amenity that you all, if you take it to that next level, you're going to continue seeing that investment happening here in the town. And the par 3, I know we've been kind of like in limbo, and at one point we were going to take it over, and those discussions are still happening. That may still happen.
You know, we're working through some issues with the county that relate to the long-term use of it. You know, there's no secret that golf courses after 30 or 40 years accumulate arsenic from the fertilizer in the ground. So we're working with Durham to try to come up with a solution to that, and I'm still optimistic. We're spending a lot of money trying to resolve it, but I feel like we'll come up with an answer to that.
Got it. I know. At one point people were really, that's 30 acres, right? I mean, to turn that into a 30-acre
and we're going to give it to the
park.
town.
Yep.
Just say here, you know, we think that's the right use for it.
We have conceptual designs. We already had a committee of residents kind of work with us on the passive uses of the area. So yeah, that would be beautiful. That's the first thing people see when they're coming off the Palmetto.
Yeah, it looks so bad now. I mean, we maintain it, but we don't maintain it well, and I think that would be a huge improvement.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
Senior Center.
Seniors.
Senior Village.
Senior Village. You talk about something we've been working on for a long time. I don't know, 10, 15 years. You know, this all started with Beth and Louis. You know, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were in an apartment convention out in California, and they heard about this place where the developer had worked with the community, and they had built a senior center with some, you know, residential housing, and how excited they were about it. So we launched into this effort, and you know, we could spend hours talking about the history, but where we are today, we now have there's really 3 components to it. There is a senior activity center, which is I think it's about a 4,000 square foot building on about an acre that we have agreed to build and give to the town that will be exclusive senior activities. That'll stand on its own. We'll build it and give it to the town. We would then build a couple of hundred, I think it's over 65, but independent living seniors, you know, that would front on Graham Dairy Lake, a beautiful lake. And we know that business. We can do that. We're comfortable with that. But then there was this third piece that really hung us up. Somebody that would come in and provide assisted and nursing for the people that needed some help, you know. that wasn't a business that we were comfortable launching into. It's a different kind of a business, and there's a lot of different licensing. It's just skills. It's just not what we did. We went through 3 or 4 people. We were under contract with Miami Jewish. They were close to getting it done. They wound up with other issues that had nothing to do with this project that caused them to derail. But we have a great group now that is in conversations with the town, and I think they're going to be scheduled for hearing here in the not too distant future, that will come in and provide a first-class facility for our residents that need a little bit of help. Really the whole spectrum, need a little bit of help, need more help. They can provide that. And our hope is that these 3 pieces of the puzzle will all work together well for our seniors. When Miami Lakes was planned back in 1962, they really thought about everything. But senior communities weren't a thing then. That business has evolved into what it is today. And so this will solve that issue. I mean, it's a place I'd put my mom in a second. It's really going to be top notch, and so we're excited about it.
Yeah, that is an amenity that many people have asked me about. When is it coming online?
I get hit up at the athletic club every day, and so it's just much needed. But we are really close now, and I don't know if it's scheduled yet. They were trying to get on one of the upcoming hearings, so
got it.
We're hopeful there'll be support for that. So
got it. So one question I had for you, because I'm sure the folks will really enjoy this. Talk to us about the vacant parcel, the cows on there, because there's a misconception. Many people think, hey, yeah, the Grams rent those cows, put them on there.
No.
And no. That there's an entire you guys, they're born on your farms, and talk to us about that entire, how they get here, where do they go? And
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people do get that confused. Let's start with the fact that the cows were here before we were.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true.
And people say, oh, you just do it because you get a tax break. No, the truth is we need that pasture land. And it's good quality pasture land. It grows great grass. These cows do well. So the life cycle is a cow at the dairy has a calf. You got this little calf. What do you do with it? Well, the first thing we do, we take these small calves, and believe it or not, we ship them to Ohio for a period of time where they're raised up to a larger size calf for what you see out here. These are all females, by the way.
So they're all female. Okay.
All female. Yeah, I love it when guys tell me that there's bulls out in that. There's no bulls in that field. These are all little ladies, and very prissy ladies at that. So when the cows come back from being raised up to where they're old enough to be on their own, they come to Miami Lakes. They're out in these pastures until they're large enough to breed. When they get big enough to be bred the first time, those cows then move from here to our land up in Northwest Dade. We owe the 350 acres northwest of Miami Lakes. There, we put them with a bull, and they're bred. And once they're ready to give birth, we send them to the farm, to the dairy in Moorhaven, where we're milking 2,300 cows a day.
All right, 2,300 cows a day?
2,300 cows a day. It's the real deal. And you want to talk about a life. These cows live in these magnificent covered, it's outside, it's the fresh air, but fans, misting, clean white sand. They can meander around, get a little bite over here. They are pampered to the end, because a happy cow is a producing cow, But so, and that's where it starts again. So this pregnant cow that was pregnant, became pregnant in Dade County, goes back to Moorhaven, has its calf, okay, obviously then begins to lactate and goes into the herd. But that calf is then sent up, is brought up till it's a little older, and it starts all over again. And so, those are our cows. We own them. They all go into our herd, and we love those cows.
So if somebody goes into a local supermarket here, there's a chance that milk
100%.
Started off here.
If you go buy, in fact, if you buy Publix milk, it's our milk, I'm sure, because we're shipping thousands of gallons of milk we sell our milk into a co-op, okay? That co-op processes that milk and then brands it to several people. And even some milk that's branded under, I shouldn't even say this, but it's branded under MacArthur, coming from our dairy.
That's
okay. So yeah.
And it all started?
Starts right here. Starts right here.
That's an amazing backstory. I'm sure folks are really going to enjoy that story. But talk to us about those other parts of the business, pecans. Yeah. I didn't know the pine, I didn't even know that you all are still in the sugarcane business. I had no.
So, let's start with the sugarcane. So in Moorhaven, we have 2,000 acres. 1,000 acres of that is in sugarcane. It's an interesting crop. Sugarcane is basically a grass, and there's not a lot to it. You put water on it. You got to be able to put the water on and take the water off when you need it. But once you do that, you just let it grow, and then they harvest it, and it's a pretty straightforward business. The pecan orchard, we have about 1,300 acres of pecans. We can produce up to, well, it depends on a good year, but 700,000 or 800,000 pounds, 900,000 pounds of pecans. We took took a direct hit from one of the hurricanes about 3 years ago that really beat our orchard up, but it's coming back now, and but that's a fascinating business too. There's a lot to growing pecans.
Are those lines of business also in co-ops, or?
Well, no. The pecans we sell to a processing plant where they take them, they dry them, they sort them, and then they will sell them through brokers to various places. Used to sell a lot of them to China before Trump got that sideways, and that market kind of collapsed. But a little bit different than the dairy business. And so that's on one farm in Georgia. Like I said, that farm's about another 2,000 acres. And then down the road from that farm in a separate county is a third farm. It's about 8,500 acres. And on that farm, we have a commercial Angus herd. So pretty simple business. We have mama cows. We breed them. When the calves get old enough, we sell them, and somebody else either raises them, puts them in their herd, or they get fed and sold for meat. And we also have pine trees there. We probably got, 4,000 or 5,000 acres in growing pine trees. And, that's a very patient business. You grow a pine tree and you got to wait for 10 years before you do the first cut. You wait another 5 years, do another cut, and it's a long-term business.
That is interesting. So what would you say, and I know one of the things that I appreciate about the Graham family, you all keep it within the family in terms of leadership. Now you're starting to see that next generation take hold there in the company. But what would you say as CEO, you and Carol and the entire team, but your tenure there, what is the legacy that you all are leaving behind? Because we know the original folks, what they did, and I think we touched upon some of those three things, but
yeah, I think the biggest challenge is transferring the culture. It's truly a family business. We treat all our employees like their family, and we really take a lot of how we conduct ourselves from the generation before us, Bill Graham and his family. So I think that's our biggest burden, is to transfer that culture down to this next set. They have the mechanical skills. They're all very bright, smarter than we are. But just make sure that they conduct themselves the way we did, and in a way that we'd be proud. And they're doing it. They're getting it, and they're really doing a good job. They'll do a better job than we will. So
no, they're definitely doing a good job. And I talk to Phil often, and
yeah, he's an animal. He's leasing like crazy. He's doing deals we never would have gotten done.
Should definitely be. You guys should be very proud of him. You know what I mean? The work that he's putting in, and one of the things I think you guys are one of the few private companies that has that have a pension, right? A pension plan for your employees, which is fascinating, and kudos to you all. You know what I mean? So that's. It goes to show you how much you all care about your employees. So as we wrap up, you got any questions for me? We kind of turned the script around here on Vox Populi, but you got anything you want to throw my way?
No, I just want to say thanks for bringing some stability to what was a bit of an unstable ship. I've had meetings in this office that were different than this kind of a meeting, and we've come a long way, and we do appreciate it. It's important to us, and just keep it up.
No, I appreciate it, Stu. I think that was one of the things we wanted to do, is kind of like refocus, understand that the future is very important, invest in the town, and kind of change the culture. And I think we've done that. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
I know we work hand in hand with you all to make that happen. And Town Center is a perfect example of that type of partnership. So I appreciate that. Anything you got in closing that you want to leave off that you didn't say before?
No, I think we're good. Like I say, I appreciate our relationship, and we're in this together, and always have been, and always will be, and we value the relationship.
I think that cow segment is going to go viral when people kind of realize
what did I say?
that where they're walking in, they're drinking, and it starts off here in Miami Lakes.
So
that's pretty cool. Stu Wyllie, the CEO of the Graham Companies here in the town of Miami Lakes. Great conversation. I appreciate you, Stu. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you next week. Make sure you tune in on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Take care.